But at the end of the day, they always say something. You can lie to everybody. You cannot lie to yourself.
But I always feel like I need to protect myself. Nobody is going to protect
I didn't have it against her anymore. I had forgiven her, but it's one thing to forgive somebody, just out of love from your heart. It's another thing to hear that from the person's side, from the person's side, right?
On my own. I have to deal with all this on my own. So when I see,
I feel like giving you a hug. But let's move on to the next one quickly. So another person sent us her own story, and we want to try to merge it in one video. If we can't, then this is going to be another video. So if it's another video, you are very welcome. You are highly welcome, okay?
Yes.
All right, Yemi, so
okay,
yeah.
Yes, I'm just going to be reading it out for you guys. Hello, I've been listening to your podcast for some time now, and I just finished listening to the episode on emotional abuse. You guys talked about how you used to give I think she's addressing, like, in that conversation, I talked about how I used to give the silent treatment.
Yeah.
So
we both talked about it, actually. Even I said it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So you talked about how you used to give the silent treatment so you can process your emotions and later talk about what was bothering you. I also do that because I was also emotionally abused by my sister. So I had to bottle things up a lot because I didn't have anyone to talk to as at that time. But I do now, and I'm getting over it. I started avoiding her or anyone else who will cause harm to me emotionally. I'm emotional and insecure sometimes, which is affecting my confidence. I like to look my best most times because that gives me confidence. But the minute I get a negative comment, my entire day gets ruined. LOL. I try to be strong sometimes, but deep down I'm hot. In fact, that entire episode was so relatable for me that I had to come and find you guys Instagram and send you a message and text you. So I wanted to ask you, how do you get through problems after distancing yourself from people who hurt you? Because I have lost friendship that I didn't mean to lose, but then I just needed to process something they did and they took it wrongly, or just assume or tell people I'm a bad person, and I stopped talking to them for no reason. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but yeah. This is the most I have ever spoken to someone I don't know in my whole life. Please pardon me if it's a bit too much. It's not too much. It is not too much. It is not too much at all. So I think basically she saw our episode on emotional abuse, and I think she also mentioned that she saw, we have individual videos on our both channels on emotional abuse, manipulation and all. I think she saw that as well. And she said that I think she was first triggered by her sister who used to emotionally abuse her, and since then she has been very protective of herself, and she doesn't want people to hurt her. Like you just putting up a defense, protecting yourself basically. And she now, because of that, she always takes her time before she responds to situations. She gives the silent treatment just because she's trying to process. And because of that, some people have termed her to be a bad person. They've gone about talking about her to other people, and she just completely shut out from everyone. And now she's feeling bad. Like not like she's feeling bad. She's just trying to ask how do you handle problems after such episodes, So Victoria, let's go to you first.
Okay.
So
the question is, go ahead.
Can you actually relate to what she's saying? Can you relate to what she's saying? And if you can relate to what she's saying, what do you think?
The question is actually very close to my heart. Like, I kept feeling so bad for her because I can imagine, because this is a case of being misunderstood by people that, are close to you because of some baggage that you're still carrying. And that's why I always tell people that, you need to let go of baggage. Baggage is going to affect you, to affect relationships around you, whether it's baggage from ex-boyfriends that broke your heart and then you are using that to punish your now boyfriend or husband, or baggage from past relationships and friendship. And I know it's tough, okay? And I think we dealt with emotional abuse in that video. I know it's very, very tough. Going through that is a lot, right? But you just need to do, number one, and that's the thing. It is tough, it is hard, but it starts by, you need to forgive, okay? You need to forgive and let go. I talked about, and I know in that video, do you know, funny enough, my mom called me after, I told you now, after we shot that video, that my mom called me, because we talked about parental manipulation also. We talked about all of those things, and she, you know, after she spoke to me, and there are a lot of things that I didn't have it against her anymore. I had forgiven her, but, you know, it's one thing to forgive somebody, you know, just out of love from your heart. It's another thing to hear that from the person's side, side, right? When she called me and she told me certain things about how she was brought up, the challenges that she was going through in her marriage, like, that was the first time in my life I ever had an 8 hours conversation with my mother. It has never happened in my entire life. I don't think we've ever held a conversation for up to 30 minutes, not to talk of like 8 hours. Right? We spoke for 8 good hours on phone on that day, and then she was telling me about how she met my dad, you know, things that happened during, you know, their marriage, her own upbringing, her ex-boyfriends that, you know, broke her heart. We've never had that conversation. So it was so easy for me to understand. It was so easy for me to let go and there was I don't know if it was, you have to forgive, basically. You understand? So I relate to that in a lot of levels, from ex-boyfriends levels, from heartbreak level, from parental levels, from a lot of levels. You know, how someone will abuse you emotionally, manipulate you emotionally, and that will start to affect everywhere. It affected me in my place of work. It affected me in my relationship with my husband. It affected me a lot, right? But I just had to get to a place where I decided that enough of using my upbringing as an excuse to have a bad attitude. Yes, I had that. Yes, it was a reality. Yes, it happened to me. But I need to move on. I need to find peace within myself. And I don't know, it can come in diverse ways for you. For me, I had to ask the Holy Spirit to help me to let go, to heal my heart from any hurt I still have towards anybody. For some people, I needed to have a conversation with them to let them know that this is what you did. So that's your sister that abused you. I didn't have to have a conversation with my mom. I already forgave her a long time ago. You know, I understood based on some of the things that I saw growing up. I understood her situation. I understood this circumstances, but I didn't understand it to the level that I got to understand it after our conversation. So having a talk actually helps. Right? You need to find out where is the root cause. And I'm very glad that you have already found out this is where this is coming from. That your sister, is she still alive? Is she still alive? Can you have a conversation with her? Because there might be some things that she was going through in her life too that you did not know, that you were not privy to, that you don't know the circumstance that she found herself. You don't know who was abusing her emotionally, because trust me, hurt people. Okay? People that are hurt, they learned it from somewhere. And sometimes when you are able to relate to a person, to relate to where they are coming from, where they got that attitude from, that made them treat you the way they treated you, it is easier for you to let go, right? So yes, I can definitely relate to it. And I really feel sorry, because if you don't deal with it and you keep using it as an excuse, it will continue to ruin every single relationship you have, right? And you don't know the relationship that is going to make the biggest impact in your life. So you need to deal with it. You need to, yes, they abused you. Yes, they did all of that. But don't let them keep abusing you now. They don't have that power over you anymore. You are the one giving them the power, because they've abused you in the past, but you are still living in it. And you need to take yourself, out of it. But yes, that's just... I didn't mean to go into the nitty-gritty.
I like that, and I love that, and I can totally relate to an aspect of what she said, you being protective of yourself. And I think, like what you said about what happened to you, like your experience, your personal experience, especially with people that are closest to you. For her, it was her sister, and that first, the emotional abuse, that was the first contact to emotional abuse. And then from then on, she had to protect herself, not just from her sister, from anybody's. Like, before it even happens, you want to protect yourself. And the way you protect yourself is when it occurs, you
put a guard.
You withdraw, and it seems like a silent treatment, even while you're trying to process it. And from her, she said she's very insecure, and it has affected her confidence, and she's even trying to manage it by looking good, dressing up, and all of that. And I can relate to that, because I am somebody that I grew up thinking that I have to protect myself. Like, that's like the basis of how I reason. Like, I always tell myself that I don't really know how to accept help. I would rather give help, because I always feel like I need to protect myself. Nobody is going to protect you. Nobody is going to come and help you. You have to protect yourself, and you have to take care of yourself. So that's the mindset I grew up. Like, it's just now that like in marriage, and I realized I need to trust, I need to lean on, I need to open up my vulnerabilities and all of that. But it's a big deal for me, and even somehow I still find it very difficult to be vulnerable and express myself. I just feel like you have to take care of yourself, deal with your issues, take care of yourself. So I can relate to that to her on that level, and I think that's why we always come off as giving people the silent treatment, because again, you still want to take care of the situation by yourself. So when people hurt you, instead of you communicating, just like you were saying that, communicate with these people, tell them, instead of you doing that, you withdraw. And then for me, that's what happens. Like, I go over the whole situation in my head. I go over and take my time. I think about it before I can open up to you and say, this is what you did. And sometimes I may never even open up to you. And because you don't even open up, you react instead of act. You react to those situations subconsciously. That's why you would let go of those people for no reason. And by the way, you did not let go of them for no reason. They did something, okay? Don't even think that it's for no reason. They did something to be in that situation. But anyway, and just to add that, we always try to manage situations from the symptoms. I think there was a video you did on, I think, parenting and taking care of your teenage girl child, and you mentioned something that we always try to take care of our kids or our situations from the symptoms and not from the roots. I think that's what is happening, and it even boils down to how she asks the question, like, how do you deal with problems that arises after you take care of situations? She's not asking that, how do I deal with this situation that I have that is affecting my confidence? And she's not asking that. So you can see now that again, she's trying to deal with the root cause, like with the situation, not the symptoms, not the root cause, which is why I really admire, like, I really love the points that you gave on, you have to let go, you have to deal with that issue, you have to drop the baggage so that it doesn't affect other relationships. Another thing I would also say is that, when we lose people, like when you lose friends and when people go in your life, for example, myself now, one of the reasons when I decided to address the baggages I have critically, I realized that especially when it comes to women, I really did not have a woman figure in my life growing up that stayed for that long. All the women figure in my life were always cut short in one way. My mom died quite early, and even my stepmom left, the one that I grew up loving, that I grew up thinking that she was actually my mom, she also left early on. So it's always a case of those women coming there was just this kind of abandonment when it comes to women. So I always felt like when it comes to my women issues, I have to take care of myself. I remember when I first had my period, I had to figure it out on my own. I had to deal with all those things on my own. So when I see
I feel like giving you a hug.
So when I read this, in fact, when the message first came in, I couldn't see the previous messages she has sent. It was later on that the messages came, and I was like, oh wow, so I just felt like I had to take care of myself. So when people come and when they hurt me or when they do things that hurt me, I keep quiet about it. Not because I genuinely want to be a bad person, but because I feel like addressing it could make this person leave, or addressing it could make me misunderstood, or addressing it could make me feel ungrateful for their presence or anything. Let me just be quiet about it. Let me just be quiet about it, not knowing that it was affecting the relationship, the friendship, the situation itself, So, and all through with my friends, I've said this a lot, all through with my friends, whenever we are having our girls' time and we're asking each other, oh, what don't you like about me? They always say that I'm very unforgiving, I'm very this way, I'm very revengeful. Because when I let out, I communicate in a joking way, I just laugh about it, and they don't take it seriously. So for me, I've communicated, and I say it in a joking way because I don't want it to make it too serious. That I don't want it to be let's just be fine. Let's just be about the vibes. If I'm I don't like confrontations, So I always tend to tone it down. But then the tone at which I'm communicating is not hitting the message that I want them to hit. So when you're communicating as well, that's what I just want to add, that make sure that you're communicating appropriately. You make sure that you are heard. That's another thing that is very important. You don't just want to say it at a time that all of you are angry. As much as you want to communicate, for example, with your case now, your mom saw the video, even though you had forgiven her, and she came, the conversation was at the time that both of you heard each other, not just yes, it has happened, let's just come and talk. It happened at the time that both of you could understand each other. So even when you are processing, it's okay. What I'm just saying is in essence is that it's okay for you to withdraw and process these things, but make sure that you communicate it as well. Don't just assume that, okay, you're giving the silent treatment and you never go and talk about it, which was my mistake, which was how I always reacted. And when I even communicate, I don't communicate it in a way that they will understand what I'm saying. I'll just communicate it casually and all of that. So you make sure that you communicate it and make sure you are heard, make sure you understand, even if it requires confrontation. People in this life, confrontations are important. Crucial conversations are very important. You must have it. Don't shy away from it and say, okay, what if it doesn't matter. You have the conversation, and then whatever happens afterwards, you know that you have expressed yourself. You know that instead of leaving these people hanging, because to be fair on those people, they want to be your friend, they want to be in your life, but they don't understand you. And when you keep giving off this attitude of silent treatment, and you know, that's what you have presented to them, that's what they will go on with, because nobody knows what is happening in your mind. Nobody
What's in your heart.
You know, nobody knows whether you're a good person or not. Nobody knows what is going on. It's what you give to them that they will go out and run with. So yes, it's very important to deal with that baggage. It is very, very important. Yeah, that's it. And communicate in a way that, you know, it makes sense. So now let's go and answer that question that she said, because I think that part is also very important. That, you know, how do you now deal with the situation with people? Yeah, I think that's what she said. Like, how do you deal with the outcomes of that situation when problems of this, after distancing yourself with people that hurt you, how do you get through the problems? Because now she's thinking that there's a problem there. You know, maybe the issues of loneliness, or maybe the issues of being misunderstood after you know, let go of people. Like, how do you deal with it? So let me ask you, like, you go first. How do you deal with issues that arise after you have distanced yourself from people?
Well, it's tougher for me, because for me, right, when situations like that happen, the first thing I usually do is I used to analyze it, okay? Most times I get angry, yes, I get angry and I'm justified by my anger. I find reasons to make myself feel good at that moment, and you understand. But at the end of the day, you need to ask yourself the tough questions. What exactly is the cause of this, okay? But let us start on the surface level, right? How I get over it. I just look for you know, it's just the normal way most humans cope, okay? You just look for a way to justify yourself, okay? But at the end of the day, they always say something: you can lie to everybody, you cannot lie to yourself. Inside of you, you know if you are truly the one at fault. You know if you're not. For me, my husband is really a check for me. Yeah. When I am having issues with my friend and I feel in my heart, I'm giving myself enough reason to feel justified about it, right? And I go to him, and of course I will tell the story from my angle, you know, and how I was the saint in the whole situation. And then he would, you know, he would comfort me when I needed comfort. And then later on, he would tell me, this and this and things are the things that I have noticed you doing, right? And I understand why your friends could take it this way. You understand? So I think just having a honest conversation with myself to see, okay, what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? And all of that. People, okay, so I did something, they abandoned me. Am I now waiting for them to be the one to come back to me to beg? If I realize that, okay, it's something I did, I'll reach out. It's either I send a voice note or, you know, because confrontation, like you said, I also don't like confrontation. Oh my God. It is so bad. I needed to make a very huge decision this previous week, but the person was asking me, I was saying the person, let me think about it. I know the answer already. I know it, but just to say it, because I know that if I say it, it's not the answer the person wants, and I know it's going to make the person want to convince me to do something else than what I want to do. I cannot explain better than that. But that's to tell you that I don't like confrontation. I don't like confrontation, right? So it's so bad that even if I want to quit a job, right, I will not come and tell you. I will send you a WhatsApp message. You understand? I'm that person that want to break up with you and send you an email or something. So what I would do, because of the situation, I would send a voice note and tell them, hey, listen, this is what happened. This is where I think my fault is. This is where I think your fault is. Sometimes, you know, most times, if you know you are the one at fault, it is easier. It is better not to even point out to the person and listen, like, this is what I've been through. This is what I've noticed happened. And sincerely, I am sorry about it. I really hope we can get through this. You know, I value you as a person. I value our friendship. And I know I was wrong in this aspect, but I expected that, you know, you should have reached out and done this and done that, right? But then I don't blame you, seeing that, you know, this is something that, you know, I have done repeatedly. Like, it's just being honest, right? If you cannot call the person, send a text message. You cannot send a text message, send a voice note. Like, there are several ways. Write a letter. There are several ways. Exactly. There are several ways. When it's my husband that I'm that way towards, and then we are distant, I will most likely send a voice note when he has gone to work. I will not talk to him that morning. When he gets to work, I'll send a voice note to him. And we'll have a long conversation, argue here and there. By the time he gets home, we have already said our mind. It's just, let us settle. You understand that? So, yeah, I think the best way, you cannot run away from situation. And I think that's where what your question is actually asking us to tell you. You can't run away from a situation that there is something causing you, because if you are able to justify yourself in this one, it's going to happen again. That's why I always say, go back to the root cause and then analyze yourself, analyze where the situation was. What did you think your friend could have done better, and where did you think you went wrong? Start from where you went wrong and reach out. Okay, it's not sometimes everybody will reach out to you, because what about if the person is your husband? How will you do? Do you understand? So yeah, to me, that's how I deal with it. When I analyze, I say this is where I went wrong, and then there are just some that the friendship is not just worth it, and I just let it go.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's true. Yeah. I think from what I'm getting from you is like, you need to really analyze, you need to really assess the situation very well. Yeah, I love that. Like, it's very important, when you assess the whole situation, where they were wrong, where they were wrong. So that even when you're communicating, you communicate better. It makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. And not just to, I totally agree with that. So I'm not even going to repeat that. Assessing is very, very important, because even for me to go through, for me to be able to understand why I was reacting that way, I need to assess. I had to, not even need, I had to assess everything. And I realized that, okay, not everybody can be saying that you're not forgiving, and you keep telling yourself that I forgive. Because everybody cannot be saying, and not everybody can be telling you that you're very genuine. Say, I don't know that I'm like this. No, nobody set out in life to come and hate you. Like who
they
nobody,
can't all be wrong.
They can't all be wrong. So I had to do that for myself, and it really helped me to be more open. And even people that know me now, they'll be like, you are a good, but those people that knew me back then, they suffer as well. But anyway, another thing I would say is that when we lose people, when people how to deal with it, when we lose people in our lives, they have occupied a space in your life, in your heart, in your mind before, and there's always going to be that void. So when the void is there, you start to feel guilty for whatever happened. You start to feel, for example, especially with family. I think we're still going to talk about when this situation affects family, like how to deal with toxic family member in another video. But especially when it comes to these situations with people that are close to you, like your sister, your family, or all of that, it's a different ball game. But when it comes to friend, not like the relationship aspect of it is different, but it's a different ball game, because family will always be family. But I think that we always feel guilty when we lose friends. I remember that I've said this in one of my previous episodes, that there's one friend that I had to let go of, and I feel like I'm not really sure if I want to still continue as friends with that person. After that I made that decision, I felt guilty for how I handled it. I felt guilty for what I decided to do. I felt guilty, like, okay, maybe I'm the problem, or maybe this thing. So every now and then, even sometimes till days, I keep assessing the whole situation. I'm like, okay, what was she trying to send? What's the message she was trying to send? Okay, maybe if she had said it differently, would it have made sense to me? Like, I keep assessing, it keeps coming back. But then I had to, I shared with my husband, and it was like, you feel guilty for whatever happened, but she did something in the first place for you to get there. So don't feel guilty that you made the choice you made. You have made that decision, you have made that choice. You learn to live with it, or you learn to manage it, or whatever the case may be. You have made that choice, and you did not just come to that conclusion all of a sudden. Can you do better? Could you have done things differently?
Should you have
maybe
done better?
Yes, maybe or maybe not, but that comes after that wisdom comes after you have assessed the situation, which is why that point that you made is very important. But then afterwards, you have made the decision. I feel like we always feel guilty. That's why we begin to see the things that happen afterwards as a problem. So basically, I just think that we just feel guilty for the decisions, but you've already made that decision, and they did something before you made that decision. Whatever could have happened afterwards, you have made the decision, but you just take some time off. Now that there's a distance between you guys, take that time off to assess the whole situation. If you feel like there are things that you could have done differently, reach out. Just like Victoria said, that you just reach out and be honest about it. Be honest. There's no point pretending. If they mean that much to you, if they matter in your life, and you still want them around, you still feel like this relationship is valuable enough for me to salvage and all of that, reach out and be honest about it. Oh, I'm going through this and all of that, and just do as so. But that feeling of guilt, there's no point feeling guilty about the decision you've made, because things made you get to that decision. And every day I remind myself that this is it, and I ask myself, is this relationship valuable to me that I want to salvage it? If yes, of course I reach out. If no, of course I know what to do. And I also will take into consideration that person's feelings when I'm trying to reach out again. So yes, that's
I just wanted to also add to that, because you also need to look at it from the person's perspective. Okay, in as much as you might want to let go and forget about it, you might also have hurt the person, okay? Because remember, we're talking about a cycle here, where you hurt somebody, the person hurts you. You also don't want to be a reason why a person will hurt another person, okay? So if for any reason a person walked out on your life and you know for a fact that you are the one who offended the person or who hurts the person or whatever, if not for anything, right, even for your own spiritual life, because the Bible says that if you want to offer something to God and you know that somebody has something, not that you have something against somebody, or somebody has something against you, make peace with the person, okay? Make peace with people. If you know you did something wrong, apologize. You don't need, and that's one thing I always say, because I apologize does not mean that we have to be friends. Because we have apologized, sometimes I'm just apologizing to ease the burden. But if I feel like this friendship is too much for me, like every day we are having something to apologize for, like it's too much for me, then I apologize, and then I cut you off. You understand? I cut you off small, and I create that space, or that, that space between us for my own mental health, right? But if it's the person who hurts you, let the person know, this is what you did to me, that, you hurt me. I know that the safest thing to do is just to, take it, and I do it too, and I'm preaching to the preacher, the word that they're calling it. You understand?
I'm telling you.
You also, if the person hurts you too, if send a message and say, this thing you did, it offended me. I've forgiven you, but I just wanted to let you know that, right? You offended me, and, I move past it. If the person apologizes, fine. If you want to continue your relationship or your friendship, do it. If not, everybody is going to be all right. There was these two close friends. One time, I didn't know them when they were friends, but I knew them when somebody was trying to settle their fight, some two YouTubers and all of that. And, they did a big celebration. I'm sure the people of, did videos of them settling their fight. Till today, we have not seen them together. You understand? But they have at least they've said what they needed to say. They've unburdened themselves. It doesn't mean that you have to continue becoming friends. It doesn't mean you will go back to the kind of friendship that you used to have. But the way that you move on, the way you heal for your own self and your mental stability, analyze the situation, reach out and do what is right.
Some arguments even make the bond stronger and better. Sometimes you have some kind of argument and then you learn to create boundaries. Sometimes you have some arguments and you learn to understand each other better. So it all just depends. It all just depends at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So anyway, let us know what you guys think in the comment section concerning these our responses and the questions that we asked. Let us know what you guys think. Do you agree with our thoughts? Do you disagree? Let us know your own opinion as well. So yes, Victoria, what do you think? Anything else for us to add? Anything?
All right, guys. That's it. Thank you so much. No, I'm done. I think we've actually, settled the whole situation. So thank you guys so much for joining us in today's video. We are so grateful for as many that has taken out time to listen to us, for listening to our podcast too. Remember, we are also on all of your podcast channel. Okay, so to all our listeners, thank you guys so much. Right? So yes, this is where we're going to draw the curtain for today. If you enjoyed this video, remember to give it a like. If you're yet to subscribe to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Please share this video to your friends and family, and remember to be on a lookout for our YouTube live, right? And be a part, because it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay.
Champagne.
All right, guys.
Right now.
Now, so until then, please remember to let us know what you think about this in the comment section. Leave your advice for the lady, and then we're going to see you guys in our next video. Until then, we still remain your favorite host, Victoria, and so we'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, have a lovely week. All right, bye guys.